Hello, welcome into the first edition of the Danny Sancomb era here on CUTV. My name is Matt Kiefer. I'm your host for this week. And with us is first-year head coach of Cal U, Danny Sancomb. Coach, thanks for taking the time here after a long weekend traveling across the state.
I appreciate you having me and looking forward to doing this with you. Hopefully we can bring back some better news than we did this past weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend was the beginning of PSAC play, crossover action, first with the Millersville and then with Westchester. Again, being your first year in the PSAC, what was your thoughts overall on what you saw in film and how those teams actually played once you guys were out there?
I think both teams are very good, and I thought both teams would present some challenges for us. First, with Millersville, they shoot the ball so well, and their guard play is really, really good and very experienced. So Atkins is scoring 24 a game. He shoots the three, almost 47% from the three, and they move the ball well. So I thought that would present some problems for us, and it did, especially early in the game where they just got their shooters open and free and were able to knock down some open threes.
And then with Westchester, again, what you never want as a coach, a big deficit early, but you have to be at least happy with how the guys fought back in the second half to at least keep it competitive and keep the score a little bit more even in the second half.
Yeah, I thought Westchester was going to be the harder of the two to win just because their physicality, they change defenses a lot, and with an inexperienced team, very young team, I knew that would create some challenges and problems for us. But the main thing was I wasn't pleased with anything, but I was happy with how our guys continued to play till the end of the game. And we have to be able to play for 40 minutes if we want to be competitive in the PSAC for sure.
Okay, we're sitting here today with a record again that nobody, you as a coach, would be wanting is at 1-5. But the teams you've played so far have a combined record of 30-16. It's not a schedule you made, not a roster exactly of all guys you had a whole year necessary to recruit. But you just talk about how the season's gone so far at this point, especially with such a challenging schedule.
Yeah, it has been challenging. We go to Fairmont and play at Fairmont and play two of the best teams in the Mountain East, and then turn around and we have Shippensburg, who's undefeated, one of the best teams in the PSAC, and then go on the road. But it's going to make us better. Ultimately, I think by playing better teams, it helps in the long run. And we're in the long haul for this. Obviously, our goals this year is we want to win basketball games like every other team. But we really want to create a culture moving forward that understands what it takes to win at this level, just by our day-to-day actions in practice, our day-to-day actions in the weight room, our day-to-day actions in the classroom is something that we really got to focus on and get to a level where we want to get. And I feel like we're really moving in the right direction with that. We've got to continue to get better in all those areas, which will come. But on the floor, when you're playing pretty much 4 freshmen and 2 sophomores, we did get 2 juniors back, you're going to have some growing pains, and we understand that. But we're looking forward to the future when those guys become juniors and they've had the experience. That's when this will all pay off.
You actually just led me to the next question there. Again, you've been coaching for over a decade now. Have you ever had a circumstance at the beginning of the year where you only had 6 players basically on a healthy roster? You're now up to about 8 or 9. But just being in that, what kind of situations challenges does that present as a coach?
Yeah, I've never been in that situation. It's just, it's different when you go to practice and sometimes you don't have 10 guys to even practice. It makes things difficult to get better. So we've got to be creative and try to do a lot of 4-on-4 sometimes and even 3-on-3 to simulate what will happen in some of the basketball games. But it's a process. We will grow the roster out next year to 16, and we'll do a little bit better job, have a little bit more time to recruit and be able to bring in some players. We have a couple guys that are in the program, but they transferred in, so they have to sit out. So that obviously hurts. And then we've had 4 serious injuries. 2 of them could be where guys don't get an opportunity to play at all this year. So we'll have to wait and see what the doctor can do with these guys and piece it together. But we are at 8 guys right now, and I think at most we can be up to is 9. So we just got to make the best of it.
Okay, going into this weekend here, going back into another MEC school you're familiar with in Concord, how's that been for you to at least have 3 teams that you have an idea of on film and playing them for 10 years now, what they like to do with Concord, Notre Dame, and Fairmont?
Yeah, it definitely helps when you have some familiarity with the team. And with Concord, they have the leading scorer in the country back, Tommy Bolte, who is really, really good. They've added a couple good pieces. They have, obviously, I think Tommy Bolte scoring 27, and the other guard is scoring 21 a game. So they get a lot of production out of 2 players. if we want to have a chance to win, we're really going to have to make those two guys work and make some of the other guys on their team do some things that they're not used to doing.
Also there this weekend is a team of Kentucky State, not in the region, not a team you're familiar with probably per se. But what goes into when you scout a team in a tournament like that, somebody you're really familiar with and then somebody you're not too familiar with as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we want to play the style that we want to play, you know, and you know, the big thing for us is, you know, knowing personnel. I think that's the most important thing, especially, you know, with a young team. So we know what their best players do, their strengths, maybe what they don't do as well, and making sure our guys have a truly understanding of that and making them do the things that they don't do well, rather than, you know, if somebody can go right and finish right, we surely don't want to force them right. We want to make them go to his left and do some things that they're not accustomed to doing.
Okay, again, this year with having a short staff in terms of a roster, you may not be able to exactly do what you want to offensively and defensively. I've seen a lot of zones so far at home games this year. What's your preferred style if you actually had the whole year to recruit and the whole guys in the systems you would have? So at least fans have an idea down the road what they'd be expecting from a Vulcan roster.
Yeah, this is the first time in about 8 or 9 years that we've played zone, so it's a little different for me, but it gives us the best opportunity to win right now, and most importantly, it gives us the best opportunity to keep our guys out there from foul trouble. So we're going to give up some open shots from time to time, but we're going to be able to keep guys on the floor a little bit longer than I would like, but just due to the circumstances, you know, we're going to have some guys play, you know, 35 to 39 minutes consistently this year. So playing the zone will help with that. We can't push the ball nearly as much as I would like to push the basketball this year, just because we can't get into a track meet just because of our numbers. You know, normally we're playing, you know, 9 guys on a team, and this year we have 9 guys that are dressed, and we have to play them all. But the circumstances are, you know, some of them, you know, just are very young, and you know, to have a freshman play 10 to 12 minutes is different than having a freshman play 30 to 35 minutes, and there's just some growing pains with that. You know, and I'll go back to what I said. You know, those things will pay off in the future, though. When they become juniors, you'll see the experience that they had in the games as freshmen really pay off at that time.
Okay. Coach, thanks for taking a couple minutes here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back into break down a little bit of the roster and also learn a little bit about Coach Sancomb and his assistant, Coach Bridgman. Thanks.
As a student athlete in college, I first got involved with the NCAA at the national level. It was through the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, SAC, gave me an opportunity to advocate on behalf of all student athletes, to affect change and to make an impact. The NCAA is giving the student athlete a platform to voice their concerns and to be able to advocate for what's going to affect their well-being. The policies that are being put in place are speaking towards academics, they're speaking towards well-being, they're speaking towards fairness, creating a culture so that the student athletes have the best experience as possible.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Codify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
Because we can.
Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Are you a visual storyteller? The Cal Times and CUTV is looking for students with an interest in expanding their skills in photography and videography. We call it visual journalism, and we're here to offer you opportunities to learn how to shoot and edit from a wide range of events at California University of Pennsylvania. Our focus is on local coverage of sports and news events from campus and around the region. We provide on-site training as we help you develop your skills as a visual multimedia storyteller for the Cal Times newspaper and CUTV News Center. To learn more about visual journalism opportunities and join our team, visit our media production facility in the Natali Student Center or email the Cal Times at caltimes@calu.edu.
Welcome back to the Danny Sancomb Show. My name is Matt Keifer. I'm the host. And with us again is head coach, first year here at the Vulcans, Danny Sancomb. Coach, you got hired in mid-June here with Cal U. What are some of the challenges that go into it being a coach in your kind of sport that goes year-round recruiting when you get hired in mid-June? There's some players out there, but some of the guys who maybe would be targeting as a coach have already committed.
Yeah, you know, traditionally I've been a high school recruiter, and we've had pretty much 99% of our teams were high school players. And at that time, in June, the high school players are gobbled up at that point in time and have settled into their schools and made their commitments. So it was a little bit different trying to look at some transfers to be able to bring in to fill out our roster. So that was a little bit challenging and just different for me, just because I'm used to having relationships with guys really starting kind of in April of their junior year and carrying through to whenever they make their decision. So it was just a short period of time to try to get to know someone and bring them in to our program. So worked okay. You know, we were able to put the roster together, but I'm back to what I'm used to at this point in time now, recruiting high school players, and excited about the guys that we're on and the guys that we've signed, and continue to move forward.
Again, just looking at a roster, there's guys, newcomers from 5 different states, from Maryland, Virginia, PA. What is it about your area, when you recruit, what area do you look for particularly? Obviously, you're from Maryland. You have a lot of ties to Maryland. Is that a spot you really like to hit up on recruiting, along with anywhere else that might have players?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think everything that kind of borders the state of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania included, obviously, we really want to recruit hard. And in those areas, there's great high school basketball, some of the best in the country, some of the best in the world, and we're fortunate enough to, be in that area where, we're 3.5, 4 hours away from some of the best basketball in the country. So we definitely want to be able to do that. Obviously, Maryland is a good area for us because there's not a lot of Division II schools in the state of Maryland. The same with Virginia. Pennsylvania is very competitive with all the Division II schools that are in there. So if you see maybe a particular player that you really like and he's maybe in the Philly area, there's a lot of schools that you have to get through to get to Cal. So, I think the great thing about Cal is it will sell itself. The facilities here are second to none. Our academic facilities are second to none. So I think that will make the recruiting easier than what we've been used to in the past. So we're excited about that.
Playing into the recruiting, obviously, will be first-year assistant head coach Steve Richmond. He played for you at Wheeling, and he was also an assistant for you there. What was it about him maybe as a player that led you to knowing that he'd be a good coach someday? Was it maybe one of his ideas? He picked up things at practice, the players just looked to him. What's about him that made him a good hire for you?
I just think his love for the game and his passion for the game. Steve obviously played for us at Wheeling and worked extremely hard, played there for us, and was a part of some very successful basketball teams. And his consistency every day as a player was very consistent. And he just kept growing as a person. And then we had an opportunity to hire him at Wheeling, worked extremely hard, and he loves the game of basketball. More importantly, he works extremely hard. So he's in the office early, stays late. He understands the culture of what we're trying to bring here. So when I was looking to hire someone, I wanted to make sure they understood what needed to be done, and I didn't have to sit there and coach them on everything. He had worked with me for the last 2 years, and he had been a part of the program prior to that, so it was just an easy transition for him coming in here and hitting the ground running. And he does a really good job of recruiting. He does a really good job of keeping me organized with everything, and he knows what we want to get done here. So that transition's been very, very easy. He works extremely well with our guys. He's able to build good relationships with our guys in the past, and I know that will continue here moving forward.
Okay, you've inherited a roster that actually lost 9 players and 6 of them were seniors. So coming in, you had a very limited group, and then Cordell Smith suffers injury in the summer, so a name familiar for a lot of Vulcan fans. So now your roster is almost completely all new. Let's just go through a couple players here. Just tell us maybe what you know about them, what you like about their game. Obviously, we'll start with Brent Ingram, probably the person you're most familiar with on the roster.
Yeah, I love Brent. Obviously played for us last year, but his just work ethic is second to none. He's really been instrumental in helping us get this culture changed. He's the one guy that actually knows what we're doing and understands it works. So he's been very good and really has stepped in to a different role from last year, being a freshman on a team that won 26 games, to a sophomore that is one of our leaders in the program, and he's done a really good job with that. And moving forward, he'll continue to get better as a basketball player and a leader, and has a really bright future helping lead this program to where we all want it.
Okay, again, we'll go to the three freshmen. Been starting every game: McAdams, Collins, and Hall. Can you just talk a little bit about those guys? I know McAdams was a recruit that was already technically here, but you're able to maintain and keep him here, and then the other two guys you brought in with yourself.
Yeah, I was fortunate with Colin. We really recruited him hard at Wheeling, and really wanted him. So we knew him, knew his family, and just love his work ethic. He's got toughness. He will continue to get better because of his work ethic. He's constantly in the gym, works extremely hard in the weight room, and is making the adjustment very, very well. Difficult adjustment because we're asking him to play the 5, and he's really a 3/4 at best. But I think by doing this, it's only going to make him a better player. So he's adjusted well. Zion Collins, very talented, actually coached his brother for 2 years, so knew the family. He has a chance to be a really special player as well. Good understanding, very hard to keep in front, good quickness, very good in the open court. We've got to work on him in the half court, get him to play a little bit lower, get him stronger, but the future is going to be bright. He's starting to understand what it takes and the work ethic you need to be successful at the college level, and he's starting to make that adjustment and get that and understand, and we're going to continue to push him hard so he gets that and understands, you can't take plays off, you can't take practices off, and he's starting to understand that very, very well, and just has been very, very consistent with us up to this point. And then Germaine Hall, we recruited him at the previous institution, and he's going to be a talented player, runs well, jumps well, can make the open shot, really working on his ball handling to improve that area. But he has great work ethic and has really adjusted in and played great for us the first 2 games in the Fairmont tournament. But needs to understand the consistency is very, very important. And we can't have him take 2 games off and then play well again, which you get that from freshmen from time to time. But I think his work ethic has been really, really good, and he'll continue to improve, and he's going to be very, very important. Those 3 freshmen in the next 3 years are really going to change physically, mentally, and really be a big part of this foundation along with Brent. So we're going to have some growing pains with them because we're talking about a sophomore and 3 freshmen that are playing 35-plus minutes. So there is going to be some growing pains, but we'll continue to grow, and they're going to be a big part of the future.
And then the rest of your starting lineup again is Nathaniel Chambers has been coming in and starting about every game, and then Kenny Lee off the bench, and then 2 guys back now, Gessner and Dante. So that's got to be nice to at least have a little bit more depth and some experience there with Jordan with the program.
Yeah, it actually makes me have to make some decisions now. When you look down the bench and you have, 1 sub, who's going in. But Jordan gives us some experience at the perimeter guard position, works extremely hard, good shooter, plays very good defense. I think his role this year is going to have to expand from last year, and it will. And then, Kenny and Nate have been great for us this year, have worked extremely hard, given us a chance to win some games early in the year. Nate plays great defense, works hard offensively, knows the sets. Kenny has the ability to score, and he gets his hands on a lot of basketballs. And then adding Dante, that gives us a better athlete, a little bit of size, not a lot, but Dante can shoot the basketball, but he's also can run up and down the floor, very athletic, and gives us a guy that can help rebound the basketball, which is an area we've been a little bit weak in at this point in time.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about Concord and then Kentucky State this weekend, but we can take a look at the graphic here to see upcoming games overall. Beginning, you have these 2 non-conference, and you go back into conference play basically for the rest of the season. Bloomsburg and East Stroudsburg, both at home back-to-backs, will be the last of the crossovers, and then going on the road to Edinboro and Gannon in early January right after the New Year. So again, typical basketball season, a lot of games early. You have to take that mandatory break for Christmas, and then really starting up at the PSAC play with the West games with Edinboro, Gannon, and Slippery Rock. Being your first year in the program, obviously you don't know a whole lot about all the PSAC West teams. You know some of them from the regional level, but what's your just thoughts overall, what you've seen so far in terms of scores and maybe some of the stats for some of the players in the PSAC West?
Yeah, I think obviously the league is great. I've been on the regional committee several times, so I've always followed Division II, specifically in this region. So one good thing about coming in here, I'm in the same region. But you know, the PSACs always has competitive teams, physical teams that play hard. And there's a lot of different styles. You'll get some zone, you'll get some man, you'll get some teams that absolutely want to play very slow, and then you'll get some teams that will press like East Stroudsburg and try to cause a little bit more tempo, you know, in the game. So I think we have to be diverse in the ability to play multiple ways and have an opportunity to win. So I think, you know, we as a program have to get a little bit more physical because this league is physical. And I think you'll start to see that as freshmen become sophomores become juniors, and so forth. So we know it's going to be a dogfight every single night, and we have to be well prepared and ready to play every night if we want to have an opportunity to win.
Okay, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time here for the first edition of the Danny Sancomb Show. Join us again later on. We'll be talking about the results from down at Concord with their tip-off tournament, mid-season tournament down there, and then they'll be crossover right before the crossover play of Bloomsburg and East Stroudsburg. Again, I'm Matt Kiefer. Thanks for joining us.